There are lots of circles in the world. Can you think of any more? I can. Sometimes you find circles inside other circles. What's this? Ah, a slice of carrot. Here are some more circles. I think there are two. Can you see the rim of the black pupil? And outside that, the rim of the blue iris. And on the other eye as well. And what about my fingers? And yours? Are there any circles there? There might be some. Sergeant Dodds from the Central Fingerprint Bureau has come here today to take my fingerprints. The best way to see them is to press your fingers on a stamp pad. Then press them on paper and look through a magnifying glass. This is what the police do in the fingerprint section. They can often identify criminals by checking their fingerprints because everybody's fingerprints are different. No two people in the world have exactly the same fingerprints. And none of your fingerprints are the same. You have 10 different ones. We leave fingerprints on everything we touch. Chalk and mercury powder. Brush it on. And then we see the fingerprints of the person who touched it.
This powder adheres to the ridges left by the perspiration from the thief or from you. Mine. Yes, there's some very, very good prints on there. The 4 prints on the bottle are identical with the 4 plain impressions of your fingers on the form.
And there's no chance that they were somebody else's prints at all?
No, they are definitely your prints. And to me, it indicates that you drank the contents of this bottle.
He's got me.
Here's a fingerprint greatly magnified. You might have one with lines like this, or like this, or maybe like this. It's really like a lot of circles, one inside the other. Now, you can see it clearly now. Circles, in circles, in circles. Where else do we find a circle? In a cylinder. But where's the circle? Ah, now we see it. And if you flew over the top of this building, a circle. Another cylinder. Do you know what it is? It's a coin. Look at the coin this way,
and you see the circle. And the flat surface inside the circle is another shape, a disc shape. A disc is a flat surface bounded by a circle. A record is sometimes called a disc because of its shape. Another circular shape, a lollipop. What shapes do you see in a lollipop? A disc shape, a cylinder shape, and around the rim, a circle. See you around.
Welcome to Detective,
Investigator,
Inquiry Agent,
Private Eye. They all ask questions and listen for clues.
Where you been, Laird Randall, my son? I have been to the Wild Wood, Mother.
How many people did you hear just then? 2?
Where you been, Laird Randall, my son? I have been to the Wild Wood, Mother.
2 parts, but 1 actor. It can be done quite easily in radio, not so easily in television. So you'll see 2 actors in this short detective story. The mother is the detective, the son is the victim. Your job is to listen well and discover who done it. Who killed Lord Randall?
Where you been, Laird Randall, my son? Where you been, my handsome young man?
I hae been to the Wild Wood. Mither, make my bed soon, for I'm weary wi' hunting and fain would lie down.
Where get ye your dinner, Lord Randall, my son? Where get ye your dinner, my handsome young man?
I dine with my true love. Mither, make my bed soon, for I'm weary wi' hunting and fain would lie down.
What get ye to your dinner, Lord Randall, my son? What get ye to your dinner, my handsome young man?
I get eels boiled in brew. Mither, make my bed soon, for I'm weary wi' hunting and fain would lie down.
What became of your bloodhounds, Lord Randall, my son? What became of your bloodhounds, my handsome young man?
Oh, they swelled and they died. Mither, make my bed soon, for I'm weary wi' hunting and fain would lie down.
Oh, I fear ye're poisoned, Lord Randall, my son. Oh, I fear ye're poisoned, my handsome young man.
Oh, yes, I'm poisoned. Mither, make my bed soon, for I'm sick at the heart and fain would lie down.
Who killed Lord Randall? 3 seconds to write who done it from now.
I dine with my true love.
His true love. She did it.
She put poison in his boiled eels.
But why?
What was her motive?
It wasn't said, but you might guess. She was in love with someone else.
I'm sick at the heart.
Hear the accent? In which country do people speak like that?
Scotland.
Now, our next detective story is coming up. Listen for accents. Listen for words that might tell you where a person comes from. For example, English,
New.
American,
New.
English,
Pajamas.
American,
Pajamas.
English,
Inquiry.
American.
Inquiry.
One of those words is an important clue. Listen for clues about who kidnapped the famous radio actor. Listen for motive. Listen to off mic.
Is used in over 1 million homes every day. That's because Coronation soap cleans cleaner. It gets to that deep, dark grime. And it smells sweeter, too. Famous film stars use it, so why don't you? Coronation soap. Mainly fine weather is forecast for the resumption of the third test at the Sydney Cricket Ground tomorrow. The British manager, Brigadier Green, says he has been inundated with inquiries about the condition of bowlers Bailey and Wright. This is the Empire Broadcasting Company. The time is 7:15.
For a better view and longer lease, I'd moved into a new office, but I was still having the same old trouble. Guys who thought they were tough trying to tell me to mind my own business. But a lot of my business is other people's business. I wasn't expecting trouble when Paul Alberti walked in.
Come in. Hi, Paul, have a drink. No.
He's an old friend, works as a producer for Empire Broadcasting, and he helped me get an office in the same building. Turned out it wasn't a neighbourly call.
Hey, Paul, what's the matter?
Oh, Tom, I'm in a hell of a mess. I've lost an actor.
Go out and get another one. The cross is full of them.
It's no joke. We're doing this play downstairs and I can't find Tyson. He was supposed to come in with the others at 5:15 and he didn't show. I've looked everywhere for him. He's disappeared. He's the leading actor. It'll be a disaster. The sponsors...
Take it easy. He's probably gone out to get a drink.
No, he didn't. Tom, will you come down and look into it? There's something funny going on.
It's time now for requests for you.
Paul told me that Patrick Tyson was playing Sherlock Holmes in The Adventure of the Speckled Band.
And I say neither, either, either, neither, neither.
They were due on air at 8 o'clock, so trouble was what they had. I'd planned to see the Georgie Barnes and Tommy Burns bout at the stadium, but I'd have to find Sherlock before 8 if I was going to make it.
They're a difficult bunch. Who? Everyone connected with this play. The commissionaire's just down here. Dickie Butler. Used to be an actor, but got his voice.
Nothing to tell. He came in this afternoon, just like the others. He didn't leave the building.
No other way out?
Except the window.
He has to be here.
pajamas. I'll wear pajamas and give up pajamas. For we know we need each other, so we better call a calling off. Let's call the whole thing off.
Tonight, at 8 o'clock, live on this station, you'll hear Patrick Tyson in The Adventure of the Speckled Band, another exciting Sherlock Holmes mystery by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Patrick Tyson will be playing the part of Sherlock Holmes. That's at 8 o'clock tonight on this station. Right now, it's nearly 7:30.
Dickie likes a drink. Sure Tyson's not the same and he's covering for him.
He wouldn't be so foolish. No, he's checked the others in and out. All but Tyson.
Well, I want to talk to them all. Who are they?
Well, there's two other male actors, a woman, and there's a panel operator. But they wouldn't make any trouble. It's their bread and butter.
All actors are nuts. Tell me that yourself.
Paul, I must see you. Who's this?
Oh, this is Tom Dempsey, Kate. Tom, this is Kate Fitzjames, our panel operator. Tom's an inquiry agent.
That's not funny, Paul. Patrick's been kidnapped. Come and listen to this.
Especially for you.
Patrick Tyson is being held for ransom. Mr. Alberti, you will receive a phone call at 5 minutes after 8 with new information. I have one more thing to say, and I ask you to listen very carefully. If there is any sign of a police inquiry, Tyson will be killed.
When did you find this tape, Miss Fitzjames?
Just now. Right on the end of this old tape. God, Paul, is he really a detective? You heard what he said. Patrick could be...
Keep calm. I'm not the police. What's the drill in this game, Paul? What do actors do after the rehearsal? I mean, where the hell are they now?
They take a break before receiving final instructions. Patrick was missing. Then they go home to change. Patrick hasn't been home.
Any of them come in here during the break or after?
I don't know. They could. I went out myself. I didn't lock the room.
They change you to evening dress before the play, Tom, and then they grab a bite to eat. Hell, it's 20 to 8. They should be back now.
And don't forget, if you have a song you want me to play for you, write to me or phone me here at Empire Broadcasting, and I promise I'll do my very best to play your requests for you.
How do I look?
Great, honey. You look just great.
You look very handsome yourself. You sure my head's right? These audiences watch like hawks.
Paul told me that this glossy pair were Marisha Murphy, who was Tyson's wife, and Bud Jackson. They were both in the play. They seemed to be the best of friends. And from the way the Fitzjames girl was throwing around the Patricks, it looked as if there might be more drama off the air than on. Something about that taped voice was niggling me too.
Say, Paul, has Patrick showed up?
Now, Marisha, dear, I don't want you to worry.
Can I have a word with you, Mrs. Tyson?
Who's your rude friend, Paul?
This is Tom Dempsey. He's an inquiry agent. Things are looking pretty serious.
Well, a real detective. What is this, Paul? Method acting. Are you trying to get us in the mood?
Just talk to him, Bud.
I assume you play Helen Stoner?
An educated thug. Well, well. Oh, Paul, I am worried about Patrick. We'll have to cancel.
Who do you play, Mr. Jackson?
Dr. Grimsby Roylott.
You sound more like Gary Cooper.
I'll have you know, sir, I speak British with the best of them. That's a pretty shrewd inquiry. Maybe you'd like to hear me do my Chinese. I am Dr. Fu Manchu, and my agents are everywhere.
Lousy, Jackson, lousy. You should hear my Alec Guinness. Perfect. Do them all. English, Americans. Do you know I once played Robin Hood and the Sheriff of Nottingham? It's true.
Stop clowning, Harry. Tom, this is Harry Carpenter. Harry Patrick's still missing. Tom's, coordinating.
Coordinating? Ah, coordinating. Well, that's more than we can say for Mr. Tyson. Did you get him this part, darling? He's not up to it, you know. Huh? No, I don't suppose you did get him the part. You know, I have worked for this company, this very company, for 20 years, man and boy, and I never saw an actor slower on the uptake than Tyson. Really slow.
That isn't true.
I've warned you about that, Harry.
Loosens me up.
No, thank you.
Oh, we artists must stick together against the Philistines. Oh, come on, Jackson, have a drink. There's not going to be any bloody play anyway by the looks of things.
Let's hear your English accent, Mr. Carpenter. Give us a line.
You remember that in her statement, Miss Stoner said that her sister could smell Dr. Roylett's cigar? Now, of course, that suggested at once that there must be a communication between the two rooms. I deduced a ventilator.
What's your part, Mr. Carpenter?
Dr. Watson, dear boy. Merely Dr. Watson.
Alberti was right. They were a troublesome crew. A hunch or a desperate guess prompted me to get Kate Fitzjames to show me the company's disc and tape library, which I knew was on my floor. She'd rather have been with Patrick, and I'd rather have been watching Georgie and Tommy.
Oh, Dr. Grimsby Roylett's death. I cannot say, Watson, that it is likely to weigh very heavily on my conscience.
It's no good. We'll have to call the police.
Oh, I'll do it if you like. Be like D24.
Hold on.
Look, are you sure this isn't a joke of Patrick's? I mean, Dickie Butler looks pretty tanked. Maybe Patrick slipped him some booze to set up the joke.
I don't think so.
Can't you get it through your stupid heads this isn't a joke? God knows where he is. He might be desperate. Who could blame him the way you two have been carrying on?
So, you think Patrick's had a crack up or something, Kate? He seemed all right this afternoon, a bit nervous.
I don't know. I don't know.
She's upset, poor thing.
Okay, Carpenter. Where is he?
Whatever do you mean, dear boy?
Don't call me dear boy. Just tell us where he is. Otherwise, I'll knock out a few of your teeth.
You'll find him in the sound effects cupboard. Rural, on the second floor.
Tom Dempsey knew it was Carpenter, but how?
He picked up the right clues. Did you?
And what do you think of it all, Watson? It seems to me a most dark and a sinister business.
What in the name of the devil?
Which of you is Holmes?
My name, sir, but you have the advantage of me.
I am Dr. Grimsby Roylett of Stoke Moran.
Indeed, Doctor. Pray take a seat.
I will do nothing of the kind. My stepdaughter has been here. I saw her leave. What has she been saying to you?
It is a little cold for the time of year.
I'm glad I got you that office, Tom. But how did you know Harry was behind it? Chloroform.
He might be a professional actor, but he's amateur at everything else. First thing was that tape. The American accent was pretty good, but not perfect.
If there is any sign of a police inquiry, Tyson will be killed.
That's not how a real American pronounces inquiry.
That's a pretty shrewd inquiry. Would you like to hear me do Chinese?
That pointed away from the real American to someone doing the accent.
Lousy, Jackson, lousy. You should hear my Alec Guinness. Perfect. Do them all, English, Americans.
Then, when I asked him for a line...
Now, of course, that suggested at once that there must be a communication between the two rooms. I deduced a ventilator.
I deduced a ventilator. He'd given me a Holmes line.
Well, actors, you know, they go in and out of roles.
Sure, but do you remember what he said when I asked him who he was playing?
Dr. Watson, dear boy. Merely Dr. Watson.
That sounded funny to me.
I get it. Harry couldn't bear to play second fiddle. He'd rather wreck the whole show.
Not quite.
Violence does, in truth, recoil upon the violent. Perhaps, after all, it is for the best.
Oh, well, I suppose you realize, Holmes, that you are indirectly responsible for Dr. Grimsby Royle's death.
I cannot say, Watson, that it is likely to weigh very heavily on my conscience.
That was The Adventure of the Speckled Band by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. In the parts of Sherlock Holmes and Dr. John Watson, you heard Harry Carpenter. As Dr. Grimsby Roylott, you heard...
Question time. You score well if you listen well. Ready? Here's question 1. Whose voice was on the tape? 2. What did the tape say Tyson was being held for? 3. Which word on the tape did not sound American? 4. How many years had Carpenter worked for Empire Broadcasting? 5. He used to play 2 parts in one play. For example, the Sheriff of Nottingham and... 6. What sort of radio program was on before the Speckled Band? Was it a request program, a news program, or a comedy program? 7. Who was Paul Alberti? Was he the detective's bookmaker, boss, or friend? And 8. Who said, I deduced a ventilator? Was it Holmes or Watson?
Checklist. 1. The voice on the tape was Carpenter. 2. Tyson was being held for ransom. 3. The word clue on the tape was inquiry.
The American actor would have said inquiry.
But it didn't sound like Bud Jackson's voice anyway.
4. Carpenter worked for Empire Broadcasting for 20 years. 5. He once played the Sheriff of Nottingham and Robin Hood. 6. The radio show before the Speckled Band was a requests program.
Requests for you.
7. Paul Alberti was an old friend of the detective. And 8. I deduced a ventilator was a Holmes line.
How did you go?
Did you score well?
You score well if you listen well. That's all.
Next time you watch, listen.
You say laughter and I say laughter. You say after and I say after. Laughter, laughter, after, after. Let's call the whole thing off. Let's call the whole thing
Mr. Fussy was fussy about everything. Absolutely everything had to be neat and tidy and in its proper place. Mr. Fussy spent all day and every day rearranging his furniture and making sure that the flowers grew in a straight line in his garden and trying to find specks of dust where there couldn't possibly be specks of dust, because he spent all his time making sure that there weren't any specks of dust. One fine morning, Mr. Fussy was having breakfast. He was very fussy about what he ate. He opened the marmalade pot. "Oh," he exclaimed, "it's got bits in it." And he spent the rest of the morning separating the bits from the marmalade. Or, if you prefer, the marmalade from the bits. Fussy old fusspot, people used to call him. Then Mr. Fussy went out into his garden, and he spent the rest of the day straightening out all the blades of grass on his lawn. Fussy old fusspot. That evening, Mr. Fussy was in his kitchen, ironing his shoelaces, when he heard a crash outside. What's to do? He murmured to himself, and hurried outside to investigate. There, with a broken garden gate in one hand, and an old battered suitcase in the other, and a sheepish grin on his face, stood an untidy person, Mr. Clumsy. "Whoops," he said, holding up the garden gate. "It came off in my hand." "Who," spluttered Mr. Fussy, looking in horror at his garden gate, "are you?" "Oh, I'm Mr. Clumsy," replied the untidy person, grinning. And he stepped forward to shake Mr. Fussy's hand, and tripped over and fell on the lawn. "My grass!" cried Mr. Fussy. "My straight grass! You bent it!" And he got down on his hands and knees and started straightening the grass. "But who are you?" he asked over his shoulder. "And why are you here?" "Oh, I'm your cousin, Blue," replied Mr. Clumsy. "Your long-lost cousin from Australia. I've come to visit." "If you look hard, there is a certain family likeness between them, isn't there?" "Well, aren't you pleased to see me?" continued Mr. Clumsy cheerfully, knocking over a flower or two as he got up. Picked up his suitcase, knocking over another flower or two, or three. Mr. Fussy quite obviously wasn't pleased to see him. "Oh, well, you'd better come in," he muttered. "I say," remarked Mr. Clumsy, looking through the front door of Mr. Fussy's house. "I say, what a neat little place you got here." And he stepped inside, tripped over his shoelaces, which he often does, knocked over a chair, dropped his suitcase, and fell in an untidy heap on the floor. "Whoops," he said.